Netflix won. Or at least that was the story everyone believed. It killed cable, scared Hollywood, made binge-watching feel normal, and forced every major studio to chase the same future. For a while, Netflix looked like the final form of entertainment. But while it was busy fighting the old television industry, YouTube was quietly becoming something much harder to beat. The website people once treated like a messy place for random clips and bedroom videos was slowly turning into the thing Netflix wanted to be. It was becoming television. And the strangest part is that Netflix spent billions trying to create the next hit show, while YouTube built a machine where the next hit could come from almost anyone, at almost any time, with almost no permission. That is the contradiction. Netflix became the king of streaming, and then YouTube started eating the kingdom. This is the war nobody really talks about, because Netflix and YouTube are not just fighting over shows, movies, or subscriptions. They're fighting over what entertainment is supposed to feel like. Netflix is the polished version of old Hollywood, where everything arrives expensive, finished, approved, and cleaned up before it reaches your screen. YouTube is stranger, messier, and less controlled, but that is exactly what makes it dangerous, because it can feel chaotic while still feeling more personal than anything a studio could design. Netflix was built to make entertainment. YouTube was built to absorb human behavior. To understand the problem, imagine opening Netflix. It feels like walking into a beautiful castle where the rooms were designed before you arrived, and someone has already decided what belongs inside. You are not entering a crowd. You are entering a catalog. That model made sense because television used to be limited. People had to build their evenings around whatever was available, and Netflix took that old frustration and made it disappear so smoothly that entertainment suddenly felt like something you could fall into whenever you wanted. But YouTube was built around a different kind of freedom. Not the freedom to choose from a better catalog, but the freedom for the catalog to never stop changing. On Netflix, the platform decides what exists before you arrive, while on YouTube, the world keeps uploading itself in real time. That is why Netflix can feel smooth, while YouTube feels alive. And alive is much harder to beat than smooth. For years, people did not take YouTube seriously as a Netflix competitor because YouTube was where you watched something quick on your phone, while Netflix was where you sat down when you wanted a real show. Netflix owned the couch, and YouTube owned the moments between things. But then, people started opening YouTube on their televisions, and the videos no longer felt like small distractions. A creator could hold someone's attention for an entire evening. A video essay could feel more memorable than a studio documentary, and a channel could start to feel less like a page on the internet and more like its own little network. That was the moment YouTube became truly dangerous, because it was no longer stealing 5 minutes, it was stealing the evening. Once YouTube entered the living room, Netflix was not just competing with other streaming platforms anymore. It was competing with the internet itself. At first, the threat looks simple, because YouTube has more stuff. But that misses the deeper problem. YouTube fits into life differently. Netflix waits for you to decide that you want to watch something, but YouTube often arrives before that decision is even clear. It slips into the ordinary spaces of the day, when you are half watching, half thinking, and half avoiding silence, until entertainment becomes a habit before it becomes a choice. And habits are much harder to cancel than subscriptions. Netflix also has to make expensive guesses. A show can take years to develop, and by the time it finally appears, the audience might barely care. YouTube does not need to guess in the same way, because it lets the internet experiment for it. Most videos go nowhere, but that barely hurts the platform, because YouTube only needs a few ideas to catch fire. When something works, the platform feels the shift almost instantly, and a format can spread before a traditional studio even knows how to describe it. Netflix tries to predict what the audience will want. YouTube watches what the audience is already doing. Then there is personality, which is where the old entertainment model really begins to break. Netflix gives you characters, but YouTube gives you people. A Netflix character can be written beautifully, but they still disappear when the show ends. A creator does not disappear in the same way, because they keep returning, changing slowly, and becoming familiar in a way that feels less like fandom and more like routine. After a while, you are not just watching what they made. You are watching Because it is them. That is something Netflix cannot easily manufacture, because intimacy does not work the same way when it has been polished by a studio. YouTube can look less professional and somehow feel more real, and sometimes that roughness is the reason people trust it. The easiest way to understand the difference is this. Netflix is a restaurant. You sit down, open the menu, and choose from what the chef prepared. And even if the meal is excellent, the kitchen still controls what exists. YouTube is not a restaurant. YouTube is a city. A city is uneven, loud, alive, and impossible for one person to fully control, which is exactly why people can get lost in it for hours without feeling like they are choosing from a menu. A restaurant can be perfect, but a city feels alive, and that is Netflix's problem. This does not mean Netflix disappears tomorrow. Netflix is still powerful, and it can still make shows that take over the internet for a while, but its position is changing. It is becoming less like the future of entertainment and more like one expensive district inside a much larger world, a place people visit when the right show appears, but not necessarily the place where they live. That is how Netflix can lose without collapsing. It does not need to lose every subscriber. It just needs to stop being the automatic answer to a simple question. What should I watch? For more and more people, the answer is already YouTube. Not because every video is good, but because YouTube is always moving, always reacting, and always waiting with something that feels strangely close to whatever mood they are already in. The obvious lesson is that YouTube is winning because it has more content, but the deeper truth is that people's relationship with entertainment has changed. For a long time, the dream was escape. You sat down, turned on a show, and entered another world. And Netflix perfected that experience. But the internet trained people to want something closer, faster, and more alive. That is why YouTube can feel powerful, even when it is imperfect. A creator can ramble, change their mind, disappear for a while, come back different, and somehow make the whole thing feel more human because of it. Netflix gives you a finished product. YouTube gives you the feeling that something is still happening. So the real reason YouTube is eating Netflix alive is not that YouTube became more like television. It is that television became less important. The old entertainment world was built on distance, where stars felt unreachable. Studios controlled the gates, and the audience watched from the other side of the screen. YouTube broke that distance, because now the audience talks back, pushes videos into new meanings, and turns random moments into culture. The viewer is no longer just watching the machine. The viewer is part of the machine. That is the reversal Netflix was not built for. Netflix still thinks like a studio, so it asks, what should we make? YouTube thinks like an ecosystem, so it asks, what are people already doing? Netflix tries to manufacture culture from above, while YouTube harvests it from below. And culture from below is messy, fast, emotional, unpredictable, and almost impossible to control. But this story is not really about Netflix and YouTube. It is about us. Because the real product in this war is not movies, shows, or videos. The real product is the empty space in your day. That quiet moment when you reach for your phone without thinking. That little pocket of boredom before sleep. And that strange silence in a room that suddenly feels easier to fill than sit with. That is what every platform wants. Not just your attention, but your automatic attention. Netflix and YouTube are not only fighting over what you watch, they are fighting over what watching even means. And right now, YouTube has one terrifying advantage. Netflix knows how to make entertainment. YouTube knows how to make entertainment feel endless. So maybe the scariest thing is not that YouTube is eating Netflix alive. It is that we are the ones feeding it. Netflix won the streaming war. Then YouTube changed the battlefield. And by the time Hollywood noticed, the new television was already playing in the background.